All right, I have completed 3 weeks of Dig Deeper. I only have 1 week left in phase 1, and then I move on to phase 2. And I want to give you guys all the updates to help you. First, I did a video on breaking down Dig Deeper, and then I did one on the first 2 weeks, and now I've just completed week 3, and I want to give you guys everything that I've learned up until now, which is quite substantial. And in the first 2 videos, I didn't give you a lot of details. I gave you more or less what I was going through, kind of an overview, and some of the bigger picture, less detailed things. And this time, I want to give you a little bit more look into some of the numbers and where I'm at and why things are the way that they are. And hopefully that will help you with any program that you're doing, or with Dig Deeper if you're doing that right now. First and foremost, I started the program at 182. I have fluctuated throughout the 3 weeks in weight, and I have looked at my scale every day just to do it. And I don't recommend it, but for me, I just wanted a gauge. I just wanted to be able to see what was happening with my nutrition or my body, or the fact that I was lifting and what kind of water I was retaining. All those kind of things I wanted to be able to just reflect on and then be able to give to you guys. So I looked at my scale. I've gone anywhere from 182 to 177. 177 has been my low point, and I think that just happens depending on time of day, whether or not I've urinated, gone to the bathroom, what I've eaten that day, just all kinds of different variables. But I definitely think that my nutrition is in that place of muscle gain. And that's always been the number one goal, is to gain muscle and not to lose weight, AKA, lose fat. I haven't really been in that position. If you watch my original video, I was going to eat in a surplus to gain, which meant, I was going to have this mass, I was going to have this ability to build muscle. And then I had to switch it up because it was just too much calories for me. I couldn't eat too much food. I could not do it. That's about as easy as it gets. As much as I tried with the abilities that I have and the habits that I have, even in my health and fitness, it was just too much food. Which leads me to just this small recap for you. Week 1 was all about data collection. It was practice. It wasn't the real game time. I wasn't about the whole workout. Even though I was excited to do it, I wanted to be able to practice so then I could apply it. And that's what I really like about any program that has phases and several weeks that are phases, because I'm able to then apply what I learned in week 1 rather than feel like week 1 it was game time and I either won or I lost. And that was my first week, was practice, data collection. Week 2, I was able to get into game time and apply the data and have the understanding so that I could then get into a flow with working out, the amount of weight, the amount of reps, the amount of sets, the food, everything. Week 2 was go time. So if you're in any program, I would say take 1 week to practice and then get into the rest of your program after that. Or take a prep week, start to attempt certain aspects of the workout program, and then put them into play on a day 1 for your workout program. And I believe you're going to see a lot more results that way. Week 3, how am I feeling after 3 weeks? Number 1, thick. I knew that it was going to be that way because I was not eating in a caloric deficit, and that I was actually eating at maintenance, and some days even more. It wasn't going to be a cut down. So I do feel thicker. I kind of feel heavier, even though I'm not. I feel tighter. I feel bound because it is a weightlifting program and not so much a total fitness athletic training program like I'm used to. But that is the phase that I'm in order to gain strength and size. And I think that that's important to know, that after 1 week, you're like, okay, I feel good. After 2 weeks, you're in motion. After 3 weeks, you start to feel, okay, how is it that I actually am doing? Am I getting results? Am I not getting results? And I can honestly say I've got results. I just don't know that I can tangibly put them into numbers for you guys at this stage. Weight hasn't gone up. My ability to lift has gone up, but I also haven't been in a place where I've been challenging myself greatly. I've been putting stress on the muscle so that I can improve strength. My goal has been to lift weight, not to move it, and then be able to progress, and not each week consider that I've got to go up in weight. I got to go up in weight. And everything that I do as far as success is noted on whether or not I increased my weights with my dumbbells. That was not something that I got into. Mine was more or less pick weight that would stress my muscles and get me through workouts, and then I could create some momentum. And now after week 3, I'm really in that point of, I'm going to go up in weight. And when I look at that from a training aspect, my brain says I was in this mode of lift, 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 then challenge myself so that I could then begin to lift more as I go into another phase, which will be more volume, more weight, different reps, different sets, different sequencing, probably the same exercises, because Shaun's not really getting into anything that is, groundbreaking with exercise. It's a bodybuilding physique strength program. So it's bicep curls, chest press, rows. It's very simple and, dare I say, basic, which is good because I'm able to look at it and go, okay, we went through a 4-week micro cycle and now we're going to go into a second one and we're going to challenge ourselves in a different way. And in order for me to feel good about going into that, I'm going to up my weights now intentionally in my 4th week and see when I begin to put even more stress when I'm lifting going into the next phase where everything will change, everything. So this final week will be that time where I'm able to test patterns, habits, strength that I've been doing for 3 weeks, and then I'll be able to put myself under stress in a new environment to test myself how I've done for those 3 weeks, and then immediately week after I will be in a whole new phase and adjust accordingly from there. So that's kind of the way that I feel. I wouldn't dare say that I've gone up in weight every week. And I don't think it's healthy to say that or even do that. I think that most people that when they get into programs, they want to stack time, intensity, reps, weight on top of what they're doing continuously to measure their success. It's not a good, healthy way to measure success. Consider this. You're only going to get so strong doing the same thing over and over and over. And then when you stack that type of thing, time, intensity, reps, more weight, you're going to end up in a place of higher risk of injury. So be aware of that as you're moving through any program. It's okay to stay with where you're at and move weight accordingly. And again, dare I say correctly, but how about we say intentionally, right? You're going to move weight intentionally. And then when you go on to your next phase, you're going to be able to put different stress and different challenges on your muscles and your nervous system to be able to then have growth and get to the next stage. I'm not in this place of continuously upping my weight, which is advice I hear often in-home or from any trainer is like, oh, if you can't do that, reduce the weight. And if you can't do that, lift heavier. That's going to make you stronger. That's not really training. Just giving the advice of lift heavier is not training. The advice of do something for a period of time and then change the modality of how you stress that muscle, which means change the sets, the reps, the sequencing, and then you get stronger. That's how it happens. Not just add weight, add weight, add weight, add weight. There's going to be a point where you top out. So let's not go down that road or into that rabbit hole. For 3 weeks, I did the same thing and I stressed the muscle. I added a little bit weight when I felt a little bit stronger and I didn't get into a place of high risk of injury. This last week, I will test where I'm at and then move into a new phase. Measurements, inches, it's noticeable. I have put the effort in to gain size, not to cut weight. So I have been able to see me become thicker, and people have noticed that as well. But it's also been a mental mind twist for me because I'm usually in a program that makes me faster, a little bit stronger, agile. I'm not in a place of like, let's put some size on, let's bulk. And that bulking has kind of put me in this mental tornado or washing machine that's like, I'm not used to getting bigger and then not still staying cut. I'm not used to getting bigger and not seeing the scale move. I'm not used to any of that. And I'm just kind of in a place of like, am I in a better place? Did I get stronger? I question myself a lot during this phase. And you might get into that phase too. You could be in that position of, I'm trying to gain muscle. And that's what's going to be what happens. You're going to get bigger. You're going to hold a little bit more water. You're going to gain some muscle, maybe a little bit of size like me. My jackets are fitting tighter and my shirts are tighter. Like I feel it. My shorts, my butt's filling out a little bit. I'm very intentional in the way that I'm working out. And I believe that that's why I'm getting the results. And you could be starting to feel that at the end of week 3. But week 1, week 2, in general, you're not going to be able to see it or feel it. And you might even be feeling some level of a placebo effect. I've had a lot of friends tell me, I've already cut so much fat and you can see it. That's going to be more nutrition than it is going to be your workout plan. The workout, Dig Deeper, it's got plenty of volume, plenty of reps, plenty of sets. It's got plenty of opportunity for you to get stronger, but your nutrition is going to dictate whether or not you're burning fat or you're making muscle. You can't do them both at the same time. Two totally different systems that they operate off of. As far as my nutrition goes, I talked about this. I'm at 50% protein. I am then at 30. I go back and forth. So I aim for 30% carbs and 20% fat, but both those could be anywhere. I could fluctuate those in any way, shape, or form that I do on a daily basis. I'm really concentrating on protein, and when I'm hungry, I'm eating. So if I get 35% carbohydrates one day and 15% fat, or if I get 25 or 30% fat and I lower it to 20% carbohydrates, I understand it, and I'm not stressed out over it. I'm not going to be in a competition. I'm not looking to, judge myself on the abs. I'm not trying to beat out somebody. I'm just trying to rock the program and get into this 12-week program of strength and physique and see how it feels, and then give you guys all the feedback that I possibly can. But I'm not going mental over my nutrition. I just refuse. But I understand why people want to do that for a certain period of time. We just hedge that if you become mental for 12 weeks over nutrition, you might be putting yourself in learning habits and patterns that you might take forward, and you have to be careful of that, because you don't want to be that person at dinner that's constantly calorie counting, constantly portion controlling, constantly taking pictures, constantly being like, I got to update my macros. That person, unfortunately, is not fun to be around. And if you're that person, note that everyone's going, why do they do that? Why can't they just be present with us? They look great. They look fine. They don't need to get into that place. And nor do I want you to get into a place of being married to your food than married to your life. My eating. I get up, I have a small meal with my coffee with nootropics and a small carbohydrate. I then do a mixture of carb and protein, which is carb dominant, before I go into my workout. Then I come home and I actually flip that and I do a protein dominant with carbohydrates. And then I get into the rest of my day of eating my lunch, several snacks throughout the day, which are protein dominant. And then I get into dinner, which always consists of some sort of wild game, and most of my meats in general are wild game at this time. I'm making this push at this stage to eat as high quality as I possibly can without hormones and genetics and anything other than grass-fed wild game. So that's my protein. I get a great dinner in, and then I don't eat after dinner at all. That's one of the kind of, maybe the magic, maybe a trick that I have, that I am eating so well throughout the day for the goal to be not hungry after dinner, so that I have that full time to be able to balance my blood sugar and to be able to balance my hormones and not to be hungry after dinner and add in calories that I truly don't need. But I eat a lot during the day. I'm not fearful of eating during the day because I know the goal is not to eat after dinner. What I learned is that there are some days I'm going to eat a little bit more than others. Some days I'm going to throttle my workouts and I'm going to feel as though I need more food. I eat more. I'm not scared because that's the phase that I'm in. Most people are in restriction and you're afraid and be like, oh my gosh, no, I can't add more calories, or what if I threw off my macros and oh my God, I'm going to be so down. The fact that I eat more on some days, that next day I am super fueled. I'm like, wow, I really did need those calories. And if I withhold eating, I realize that I don't have that energy going into my workouts the next day. And I'm like, man, for a few hundred calories that I was going to eat the day before, I just wrecked the next day. So if you're in that stage, you're learning now in week 3 being done, going into week 4, how important nutrition is, and a few hundred extra calories is in the initial stages. And as you move through the stages into 2, into 3, and if you get into this, I want to have a better physique and I want to look better and I want to get into fat burning, well, those extra calories, you're going to start to narrow down and you're going to hone in on exact calories, hyper focus, hyper calories, hyper workouts. Those things are going to start to narrow in to be able to get the results that you want. But in phase 1, I don't think that you need to have hyper focus to provide stress for you in phase 1. Still going strong as far as no cookies, no pizza, no alcohol, no sugars. I am in a place where I can cut those things out in a healthy way because I've already done in past in my life, gone through reduction, gone through cutback, and then gone through cut out. So this patterning for me to be able to cut out immediately is not a big deal. And I am 21 days in with none of that. And I'm not really drawn back into it. There's a couple times that I get drawn back in where maybe I walk by a pizza joint or I walk by a bar, or when somebody says something good to me. And I used to run product development groups for in-home fitness. And what I would realize that the third week was a really interesting week for people. And I'm living it right now. And I haven't done a group in a while that's like that for myself. And I remember saying this in almost every group that I've done. First, you're that person on a plan. Oh my gosh. Secondly, you're that person where you're like, well, I'm going to stick to it and I'm going to prove to you. And then third is, oh my gosh, you are that person on a plan and you are doing it. And you get this internal recognition from yourself, whether it's the feeling of 3 weeks completed or some level, whether it's strength, weight loss, inches, or maybe somebody notices and says something to you. You're like, oh my gosh, you're looking great. I didn't think you were going to make it this far. Are you still doing it? You look great. They start to see your confidence push through. And I feel that right now. And there were a couple moments in week 3 where I was like, oh man, like I should reward myself. And that is the momentum killer. You want to reward yourself for efforts, your consistency, and some of your success, but you're initially not thinking about you are stopping the momentum that you built. 21 days worth of momentum is not worth a quick break. You know, you're not at a point of cheat meals, cheat days, and going off plan to stop such a great, incredible momentum that you got from your consistency. So I would warn you on that week 3, those temptation elves are coming for you, and they're going to say, "Hey, do you want to get off plan? Do you want to step aside for a minute?" And I'm warning you to say, you have done such a great job. Reward yourself by challenging yourself in week 4 and moving in to phase 2 so that you can get results that stick and stay. Because when I was in those groups and I was running those groups for companies, I would always say this when people would say, oh, Mike, you know, I'm at this point and I go, not good enough. Your results aren't good enough. They're not going to stick and stay if you go off plan. You're going to reward yourself with the behaviors that you had that brought you here. So be careful of that. And I know that even myself, I have that temptation, and I'm going into a Super Bowl weekend. And part of that for me is going to see my friends, and they're going to be like, hey, let's go make moments, you know, party, you'll have some beers, chips, do whatever you want. Mike, come on. It's not that big of a deal. You're not in a competition. You can share with us. And I'm going to be like, I made a deal with myself. And that deal was to be better. And that deal was to accept that where I was 4 weeks ago is not where I wanted to be. And that I've got a plan and a system, and I'm going to do what's required so that I get results that stick and stay. And that's how I have habits that people tend to think, Mike, it's easy for you. You've never been. And I'm like, actually, I've been working on patterns and habits for a very long time. And that's why it seems easy for me, is that I put myself in positions that I had to test the patterns and habits that I was working on and see if I was going to pass or fail. Because that's what it is, right? If you pass, you pass. If you fail, you fail. And I know that you guys are going to get into that world. Like, don't tell me that I failed because I had a few beers. Don't tell me I failed because I went off plan. Well, that's the way I look at it. And if it's a trigger for you, then it's a trigger for you. But it isn't for me. And I am on a plan doing what's required. And what's required is having that type of restriction, that type of diligence, that type of commitment. And that's where I'm at. And I don't feel as though I am giving up or I'm restricting, putting mental stress on myself by not participating in that. I'm actually showing all my friends and family that this is why I love fitness, and this is why I'm a leader, and this is why I'm as healthy as I am at the age of 54. So be aware that week 3 is that. Also in week 3, I realized I'm sore. Really sore, and I'm tight. I took a day to do mobility instead of LIST, that low impact steady state cardio. I took a day and did 90 minutes of just sports and athletic mobility. And I was shocked on how tight I was, how my shoulder mobility had changed, how my ability to stretch out had changed, how my hips were tighter. Even though I felt that I was moving without resistance, I was bound. So that would be the one thing I would say in this program that tends to get me. And I noticed in week 3, I'm bound, I'm tight. And strength programs create tightness. And anybody that's in bodybuilding, they do not have mobility. They don't, and they don't concentrate on it because that effort that they would put into mobility is time away from building strength. So I would say you really need to pay attention to your recovery. The fact that you're putting the time and energy and the intensity into your workout programs and your nutrition, give that equal amount of attention into your recovery, which means when you feel like you need more cardio, you probably need more flexibility. You need more sleep, not more cardio. If you have an hour to do more cardio in a day, you might have an hour to have more sleep in a day, right? Think that through just a little bit. The more you recover, the more you meet the same intensity of your workout, which means that you're putting yourself in a position to optimize your efforts to get the goals that you ultimately want. So after 3 weeks, that's where I'm at. I'm bigger, I'm stronger, I'm in a position where I collected data, I found some flow, I applied it, and then I'm going to test it in this week 4, knowing that I'm going to change that modality up to give me what we call in the training world progressive overload. We're still going to do the same exercises, but we're going to change the sequencing up, the reps, the sets, which is then going to give you this opportunity to grow even stronger and to grow more muscle or to burn more fat, whichever one that you chose with the program. But that's where I'm at. I'm going into phase 2. I was sore. I needed more mobility. I'm still on my cardio, which is 3 times a week. I ride with my team and my friends Monday, Wednesday, and Friday for 30 minutes. While I do my social media, it's intentional, but it's not something that I'm going nuts over. And then Saturdays, I either do additional cardio or I'm going to continue to do that athletic mobility because I really need it. And again, it's about my life and it's about me being a performance-built machine and not an aesthetic-built machine. I'm not really the physique guy, even though this is a physique program. So therefore, I'm going to continue with my mobility till the end of the 12 weeks. And to rehash my nutrition, I'm not eating anything off plan. I don't have cheat meals, cheat days. I'm at 50% protein on days that I want more food. I eat more protein, and then I fluctuate my carbohydrates and my fats depending on the day. And then I'm concentrating on recovering as hard as I am working out so that I can meet those two to give me optimized results. And my secret sauce going into phase 2 after I test myself in this final week of phase 1 will be me being intentional. I've noticed that when I'm in the gym, I am hyper focused on the movement patterns. Shaun will say, it's mind-muscle connection. I will say it's on your exercise patterns, AKA the way that your joints move. Because if your joints move correctly, guess what moves correctly? Your muscles. And that's what ultimately what we want is to be able to have full access and full range of motion of a joint at any point in time to access that power so that you don't get injured. And the muscle will move, the muscle will build, and everything around the muscle will be great if the joint moves correctly. But if the joint doesn't move correctly, then you don't have that ability to create the muscle that you want. Make sense? If it doesn't, let me know down below and I'll happily explain that to you further. I'd appreciate if you guys could like, subscribe, help the channel, help me out, and give me any ideas or anything that you'd like me to expand on and help you guys with your in-home fitness programs or with Dig Deeper. Let me know. I'm here to help you with my journey, but also with my knowledge. So ask away and I'm happy to help out. Follow up with being intentional is I haven't done a single workout at home. Truth, I've been doing them off the worksheets. I don't follow along. I don't listen to it in my ears. I use the worksheets. I use a timer. I'm right on time and I'm doing it at the gym, to which I had a guy come over to me and say, man, you look great, dude. How the heck you been? And I go, thanks, man. I'm just trying. He goes, dude, you look focused. I go, appreciate that. To which he also said, you're very intentional. I see it. And that made me really understand that I'm not distracted by the outside world. And I know that a lot of you have kids and don't have a lot of time. And, there's things that go on that distract you. But the more that you begin to become intentional, the more you give yourself the ability to get to your goals effectively and efficiently. That's going to be a part of patterning and developing patterns. And you don't have to be intentional right away. But it is something as far as patterning that you're like, okay, I started and I showed up to my workouts and I was checking it off and I was doing what was required. The next level to those patterns and habits is becoming focused and intentional with your workouts and undistracted. When you're able to do that, then you're really able to concentrate on what needs to be done and the requirements of what needs to be done at a high level. That's the real difference between those people that you may see. They're like, oh my gosh, they're crushing. They're intentional and they're not distracted no matter where they are, in the gym or at home. They are super focused, but that doesn't have to come along right away. If you're a person that needs to show up and check it off the list and just get it done, kudos to you, points to you, I'm proud of you. But the next level to that, the next phase to that, and it may not be this workout, could be the next training workout that you do, is to become more and more intentional so that you can have the results that you want. So that's the end of week 3. I'll report back into you guys about the end of week 4, about how I tested and went up in weight to be able to see how that felt, and then how I'm feeling going into phase 2 after week 4. So thanks again, guys. Appreciate you guys. Like, subscribe, let me know anything that I can do to help you out. Comment down below. You guys are the best. Stay well.